Hey guys, today's video is all about doing a diastasis self-check at home. So early postpartum, there's a lot of conversation on the width of the gap, but I want you to punch that idea out the window. It's not totally irrelevant, I promise. It's good information to know. And we're going to track that over time during our diastasis and our postpartum journeys. But today I'm going to focus really on number one, tension. And number two, can you generate that tension when you need it? So when you are lifting your kids up off the ground, when you're deadlifting, when you are doing laundry and you're picking the basket up off the ground, can you generate that tension and support yourself from the ground on up and support your entire core system when you need to? So we're gonna do that little self-check on me. I'm a little past 5 weeks postpartum, so we'll see what we see. I'm gonna roll from my side to my back, which is how I recommend getting to the floor when you're early postpartum, kind of coming into a little bit of a glute bridge position. I'm gonna roll my shirt up so you can see my belly. The first thing we're going to do is kind of feel along the midline and just kind of feel for what that tissue feels like. So early postpartum, like I am, you might feel like your fingers might sink in a little bit, which is totally normal. Our bellies had to expand and grow to make room for our baby, so things can be a little stretched out, and it might take a while for things to kind of come back together and heal naturally. Those first 0 to 6 weeks are really important for postpartum healing, and for some of us, we just need a little bit of help along the way as we work to rehab and retrain our bodies and get back to our favorite activities. So I was just kind of feeling for that tissue. The 3 areas we're really going to look at are around the belly button, just below the belly button, and just above the belly button. It's super common to have a little bit more of a diastasis around the belly button, because if you think about where the belly is really expanding, so the belly button is a super common spot. So I'm going to first start off with just doing a curl up. I'm not focused on engagement. I'm just doing a curl up to see how things feel. My shoulders are going to stay grounded. I'm not doing a sit up. It's just a curl up. And this is no different than standing up out of a chair or getting out of bed. So I promise we're not doing a ton of damage, but just doing a little bit of a check for 20 seconds or so. So I'm going to just kind of send and look up. I'm going to feel right around the belly button, and I'm going to take my fingers and kind of feel for right in between on those 2 muscle bellies. And then I'm going to go down below, and then down above, and then I'm going to come back down. So because I wasn't engaging at all, you might even see that my belly pooched out a little bit just because of the pressure moving outward. So this time around, I'm going to add that pelvic floor activation and use the power of my breath. So add that engagement and then do the curl up. So I'm going to really work on generating that tension through the midline before I do my measurement or my self-assessment. So I'm going to try and stay quiet so I can focus on that engagement. So that inhale, and down. For me, I feel like I'm just a little bit around the 2-finger mark, maybe even a little less, which is definitely a lot of improvement since I measured myself about 3 weeks ago, very early postpartum. And normal diastasis is considered under 2 fingers or below. So for all intents and purposes, I have a normal diastasis. I'm still working on generating that tension. So the first way we're checking it is without generating that tension. So just kind of coming up into your curl up and feeling for those 3 spots: below the belly button, at the belly button, and above the belly button. The next step is adding that pelvic floor lift and engagement. So adding that pelvic floor lift, engage from below, and then do the curl up. Feel in those 3 spots: below the belly button, at the belly button, and above the belly button. So I'm just going to kind of show you on my belly. We're going to feel for those 3 spots: right below, right at, and right above. I like to also do diastasis checks in different positions: standing, side lying, quadruped. Just experiment and see how your belly feels. How is that tension? So we tend to do this in supine on our backs at first, and then we can kind of experiment. I want to show you how not to do a diastasis self-check. So if you're on your back, once again, a lot of times people will do that diastasis self-check literally coming into that sit-up position. So I'm gonna do it real briefly, but if I come up and I bring my body up way too much, basically these muscle bellies are closer together and scrunched together because I'm coming into that full sit-up position, which I'm gonna try to avoid actually. So if we're actually bringing everything close together by bringing our body closer together, then we're not really gonna be able to get a full read on what the width looks like. So it's really important to just do that small curl up as you do the diastasis check so that you're not bringing everything close together, because that's really going to get in the way of you getting that full measurement. So what did we learn from this little guide? Hopefully is you're going to do that diastasis self-check in 3 locations: right at the belly button, right above, and right below. You're going to really start by feeling the integrity of the tissue before you even get started, just so you have a baseline before you add that curl up. Then you're going to add that curl up and see how the tissue feels. Also notice if things kind of pooch out a little bit, is that a sign that you're sending pressure outwards, potentially sending pressure down? Just tune into that feeling and take notes. The next thing is you're going to add that pelvic floor lift and engagement and that deep core engagement and pelvic floor lift. So I like to think about back to front, that scoop and lift, and then that pull, kind of those pull of the hip bones kind of coming together. So scoop, lift, pull. And when you have that engagement, feel for that tension through the midline and see how things change. Tune into that. So I'm happy to answer any questions, drop them below, and you can definitely do this diastasis self-check at home. I also recommend seeing a pelvic floor PT or professional so they can do it for you and you can compare notes.